Hey, welcome everybody. Rob Provanchi here from the Wizard of Light Academy with another, what do you call these? NoBsTeeVee. Yeah. I'm a little confused because we did our first ever video podcast with Alicia Birch last week. Talked for about an hour on various different subjects. It's pretty good, actually. If you go into the blog, there's a new category called podcasts, I think. Or you go across the top menu and you can go watch that and download it as well. So it's just an idea. It's a little rough, a little crude, but Alicia is an awesome photographer, and I really admire her skill set and her ability to sell and market and grow her very own successful photography studio. So we talk about a bunch of stuff, and I'm planning on bringing more of those to you. So as well as these particular TV shows, which I was all confused about a minute ago. So hey, it happens. You know, I'm really, really busy this time of year. Absolutely crazy busy. So sometimes people ask me, Rob, how do you do so much? And to me, I'm not really doing that much. I could be doing more. Some people might think I'm a bit of a workaholic. But let me tell you this much. I love being busy. I love doing what I'm doing. So it's important to love what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, like they say, do what you love and the money will come, which I sort of not really buy into. It sounds a little bit flaky to me. But it's important to definitely be doing something you're passionate about and something that you love. There are times when I absolutely can't stand it. There are times when I'm ready to pack it in. I've been at this photography game for a long time now, and I've always noticed it's like a roller coaster. There are moments when I'm riding high, and it's pretty manic when you think about it. There are moments when I'm just like, geez, I've had enough, either in creativity or in business. Thankfully, not so much business anymore, but I remember struggling back in the day. It was a real rough ride. But nowadays, it's more like just general overall. I have moments of apathy, I just don't care anymore. And I think that's just part of being human. And when you're in a career that is not really stable like photography, you've got to bring your own stability via marketing, via good business practices, via inside of you, because it's not like going to a job where you're in some institution and they got it all set for you. It's all structured. Structure is attractive. I get that. And thankfully, I've gotten used to the fact, and I recognize the fact that it is what it is. And every time I go through these phases, I pull through it and I go, well, it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. And I feel like I develop a little bit more sense of mastery, both in my ability to sell, my self-confidence, and my ability to shoot. For example, my daughter, she's 19. She's did one of her first shoots today. She's going away in January on a 3-month program in Southeast Asia, and she's allowed to do a fundraiser to raise some money. And I said, why don't you do sessions? And charge like $100, just a real basic beginner session. She's not really done that kind of stuff before, so it'll give her the experience. So she had one of her friends come in and bring her 2 sisters in, and I said, look, I'm going to help you out. I'll kind of have a look through, but you're doing it, man. I'm just going to let you go. We talked about it, we planned, and then after it was all over, she actually did pretty good, and it was a great opportunity for me to give her a show about lighting and that. It was quite amazing what we were able to produce with the light. And I can't really show those images because they're a gift for this girl's parents. So I can't do anything till December. It was my promise. But anyways, that's not my point. My point is, after the session was over, my daughter, Danielle, says to me, she says, well, that was hard. I'm sweating. I was so nervous. I'm like, well, it didn't show that you were nervous. Point number 1. After having done 11 years of Toastmasters and a lot of public speaking, a lot of people don't realize that their nervousness doesn't show nearly as much as they think it does. So I wanted her to be aware of that. Second thing is, she said, I was really confused and scared, and it's like, I knew exactly where we were going. I knew, she says this to me, she says, I knew exactly what poses I was going to do, but I was just like so flustered. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. And I know in the sense that I've been there at one time, and I told her, I said, yeah. I said, you get better at that. It's called mastery. You get better at it. A lot of people think photography is easy, but in that one area where you get that level of mastery, especially when you're mastering a portraiture at a higher level, looks easy, but it's not, and it takes a long time to achieve that sense of mastery. And I told her, I said, it's a wonderful thing. I feel like I can go into just about any situation and sort of take it in and make decisions. Oh, I remember now what the word was. She said to me, she says, you must know intuitively. And I was like, yeah, that's a good observation, actually. It is very intuitive now because I know the technique and I don't think technical. She's thinking, right? That's where she's at. She's thinking. There's too much thinking going on. You got to master the technique so you can forget about the thinking part and you can just go in there and create. That's where you get to be really creative. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second because I've got on my notes here somebody I want to talk about. But let me talk about something else in the meantime. I'm going in order here because I can get a little anal about my lists. The list. Okay. Jeff Lubin is an awesome photographer. He's a very insightful dude, and he has this Facebook group going. It's kind of cool. And I did an interview with him last year or last winter, I'm not sure, on the webinar. If you go to the blog, it's there. Webinar replays. One of the best ones I've ever done. Anyway, somebody had asked in one of the threads that we had going on about branding. Jeff was talking about branding, and I gave my 2 cents worth. Let me just talk about that for a minute before I get into that situation. Here's branding. Think of a brand on a cow, You got a rancher, he's got all his cows, he's got a brand. It's a steel metal thing they heat up and they brand the cow. Looks painful. But that way they can track their cows. This is my herd of cows. Those are your cows. My cows have my brand on them. So a brand means an impression. That's what it means. It's not necessarily going out to an ad agency and getting a logo, although that's something you would do. But I think a lot of people falsely think that that's all they have to do in order to create a brand. Whatever. Here's my impression on branding. Branding, and I've done presentations on this in webinars, and they're recorded in the forum, NoBS Photo Success. If anybody's in them as a member, it's one of my favorite replays is the one on publicity. To me, branding is publicity. The root of branding is publicity because when you really think about it, branding at its very grassroots, at its very best way with which it's achieved, is achieved by word of mouth. So when one person says something else, and now envision your market. For us, mostly it's women. So let's say you sell a family portrait and a lady comes in, picks up her portrait, goes home, hangs it up. She's, wow, amazed, assuming she's amazed. Let's assume she's very happy. Her friend comes over the next day for a glass of wine or whatever, and she's going to talk about it. She's, oh my God, that looks so good. Now that other woman may not have met you, or she's only heard about your studio through her friend or her relative, right? That's branding. She's creating an impression for you. That is the very best branding. That's at the grassroots, word of mouth. One person to another, extremely credible. You work your way up from there into branding to the higher levels of big media, radio, print, TV, all points in between. Any kind of big media branding is good. It's very powerful. Can be very negative, though. If you get into hot water, it can be very, very destructive. But it can be very powerful. It can be very controversial. Got to be careful there. But it's got a lot of built-in credibility. Not as much as the one-on-one. Think about it. Who are you going to trust? The guy in the local news? There was a time when they had more credibility, but, it's kind of cool. It's got that celebrity, big media status to it. But the best branding is the one that is created by one-on-one, word of mouth. So when you create that kind of a branding, you have a very powerful mindset. You have what I call market position. And I didn't make that up. That's a Dan Kennedyism, and I'm sure Dan didn't make it up. He probably got it from somebody else. Market position. So in other words, where is your photography business in the marketplace? Okay? If you go out there and poll 1,000 people, you say, tell me about photography studios. If nobody mentions you ain't got no market position. So now you know what you need to do. You need to get out there and get some. And you just get one client, then 2 clients, then 3, then 5. Don't assume this is going to happen in 6 months or 2 a year. 3 to 5 years of hard work to get some inroads with market position. So the impression that is created during that period is very, very important. You're either going to be a crappy perception or quality. Which one do you want to be? Stick with quality. Anyway, so there's a lot of ways that with which, above and beyond the grassroots, you can get out there and get networking, and you can do all kinds of publicity stuff to further that brand in your community, because photography studios are very community based. So anyways, the question was, what do we do about, there's some people that perceive our studio as being too high end, too expensive. They don't even know what our price is, when in fact our prices aren't really that high. When some of them, when they ask and they actually find out, they're surprised. Actually, by the way, I get that a lot too. So what do you do? It's like there's this dilemma. Well, if this is happening a lot, which I don't think it is, it probably happens once in a while, but if it happens a lot, where people are coming up to you and going, we're not coming to you because we can't afford you. There's something that you're doing wrong. If this is happening a lot, there's something you're doing wrong that you need to fix. So you can't sit back and say, well, this is a problem, they're not coming to me. No. You got to get more active in the community. You got to get out there, get more networking going on. You got to make more offers. Maybe have some lower end offers. Like every fall we have the I think it's $70 to $90 session with 12 Christmas cards. That's a pretty good entry-level offer, and then you upsell from there. So you get more deal flow going, all kinds of programs and offers and clubs going on so that you're constantly putting offers out there. And hopefully you have a list of past clients who have a really strong bond with you. If you want to see this in effect, watch the Sandy Pooch webinar replay. She talked about her legacy program. Says it all. When you have that kind of a list going on, there's your answer. So you really build a strong rapport and a strong bond with your clients. That's how you solve that. You can do that 1,000,001 ways. It's all marketing. It's all marketing. I'll repeat it again. It's all marketing. Newsletters, email newsletters, getting out in your community, doing a lot of stuff so that people see you constantly, respect you, talk to you, and know who you are. So anyways, a lot more I could say about that, so I'm just really glossing over it. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about pricing for a minute, because I get this question quite a bit. How do I raise my prices? Well, here's how you do it. You just raise your prices. It's that simple. Here's what I did, and I've been teaching this for years and years and years and years and years and years. Go take all your prices. Let's assume they're your wedding prices. And go to your file where your wedding prices are and go double them or 50% of them. Whatever. Just raise them dramatically to the point where you're like, ugh. A lot of people think they're afraid to shock the marketplace. They're afraid to raise their prices because they think it's going to have a detrimental negative effect, and it won't. I guarantee you right now. Here's the big secret right now. I'll tell you right now, and this is from Dan Kennedy. Again, Dan Kennedy, my hero. He says that the marketplace will take you at your own appraisal. Shall I repeat? The marketplace will take you at your own appraisal. So if you want to get X amount of dollars for your wedding photography, you've got to be comfortable with that range, that price range. And here's what you do. If you're not comfortable with it, you get comfortable first before you actually raise your prices. So take your price list, families, babies, whatever, increase them dramatically, double them if you want, just for fun even. So if you're charging $2,000 for weddings, charge $4,000. Just do that, print them out, make about 5-6 copies, look at it. So you're telling your mind, your conscious, your subconscious, this is what your prices are. Put that in your workplace. Put that on your fridge, in your bedroom, in the bathroom. Put that new price list so you see it all the time. You get used to the idea. See, stop analyzing in terms of what you think the fears are, that the marketplace will be shocked and they'll completely reject you. I'll tell you right now, they will respect you. They will. And the more you raise your prices, the more the perceived value is received as something that is of better value. You know, compliance goes up. People will respect you more. People won't crap all over you and make unreasonable demands. So it's actually kind of cool the way it works. So raise your prices. Just do it. At least start with that strategy and work your way up from there. So at least in your mind, you're comfortable with them. So I want to talk about getting old here because I'm 56 years old. And I just photographed another session. Check it out. So I went to put my glasses on and I lost I lost my thing. And I told the couple, the guy picked them up off the ground. I said, "Oh, these glasses aren't mine. They're from my wedding from last week. I accidentally stole them from the groom. I put them in my pocket because he just needed somebody to hold them while I was doing his pictures, and I forgot to give them to him. And now I broke them." I was like looking at them, I'm thinking, "Oh, they're from China. They're probably $2 glasses, so I'm not going to worry about it. If they'd have been designer glasses, I'd have shipped them back to him." Anyways, my bad. That's confession hour right there. So here I am photographing this young couple today when this glass situation came up, and it was an engagement session. They're getting married next year. She's only 20, and he's like 23, 24. Sweet couple, really, really nice. And it's amazing that I get to still be a part of these couples' lives. I'm booking weddings like crazy. I'm still photographing a lot of engagement sessions, family sessions, and whatnot. And you'd think that they'd look at an old guy like me and go, "Well, he's outdated. He's not. We don't want him anymore. He's an old guy," because that's what happens in our society. We tend to take the old people and shelve them. But I think the important thing is that if you're relevant, if you're youthful in mind, which I tend to be. I tend to be a little immature at times, but overall pretty responsible, I believe. And I like to have fun. So I really love shooting portraits, young couples. I love that. So, and all of that shows through, I believe. So they really do have a good time. And, it's 2014. I think it was 2001. I was always very active in the association, a Professional Photographer Association. I was always the guy who brought in the speakers. It shouldn't surprise anybody that I was that guy, because I'm still doing that to this day with all the webinars, and I've done so many infernos, and I've organized so many events where I've brought in speakers. Oh, by the way, before I continue my story about getting old, in 2001. I was talking to Danny Rebela, and we're having a meeting this week, and we're planning on having an inferno, which is going to be sort of like a 3 to 5 day workshop, sort of spread out, but in Costa Rica next winter, 2015. Details are coming. We're going to have it limited to 20 people. We've got the location just confirmed. Danny and his wife, my wife and I, are having a meeting this week. We'll talk about it. I'll get that to you, but plant the seeds and join us. Danny Rebela is an amazing portrait photographer, very, very successful. And he's a good teacher, too. So, 2001, I was the speaker chair for our branch, and there was this guy. If you're Canadian, you know this guy. His name's Al Gilbert. He's probably, if he's still, I don't know, I think he's still around. He's probably retired now. He's about 82 years old-ish. But when he came up here to speak, he might have been around 73, 74. And here's two things I want to say about him. He's one of the best photographers in Canada. He won the Order of Canada for his photography. If you're an American, that would be the equivalent of, I don't know, whatever the Citizens Awards are. It's pretty big. Very, very accomplished. So I always wanted to get him to come up. And for him to come up to a local branch is really kind of like, he's a bit of a rock star, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. So what I had done, this is what I had done. I sent him a letter, handwritten letter. I said, "Dear Al, my name's Rob Pravache," and my letterhead, by the way, was really cool. I always put my picture with my name and address and all that on my letterhead. I think that's really important to do. And if you want to reach out to people, do that. Go old school letterhead. Send it to them in the mail. They don't expect it. So I sent it to him. I said, and I didn't say, "I want you to come up and speak." I said, "Would you consider talking about coming up and speaking? We don't have a lot of money, blah, blah, blah." A couple months later, I get a phone call. It's Al Gilbert on the phone. I'm like, wow. And he's joking about my picture on my letterhead. He goes, "Are you as good looking on your picture as you are in person?" And he was just joking, right? And so we had a little bit of a dialogue on that. And then he said, "Okay, I'll come up for $1,000, which was good. Because we got sponsors, we packed the place in, we made money, we had more people attend that event because it was Al Gilbert. And so that was the first thing. The second thing about Al, besides the fact that he's in his 70s and totally kicking ass, I mean totally kicking ass, his work is amazing. he arranged to have his session done with our mayor at the city hall on a Sunday afternoon. So we did our morning thing, had lunch, then we went to the city hall, and we watched him in action. It was spectacular to see this guy in action. It was like he wasn't even thinking, if that makes any sense. He was just in control, and we all were helping him and assisting him, or some of us were. Everyone else was watching. And it just calm, a total Zen-like calm. And the images that he produced were unfreaking believable. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, I learned a lot, not just the technical, but also the Zen-like that he brings to the game. And, you know, well into his 70s. I've heard of other photographers in their 80s who are still going. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that. So I just wanted to talk about some different stuff and let you know about that video podcast that's in the blog section. So that's all I got to say, guys. So if you have any questions, send me an email at rob@wizardoflight.com, and I always welcome your emails and or ideas. All right? I'm out of here.